to ensure that your cell phones are on silent. I guarantee you, if you did not get a phone call all week, you are definitely and you know that Willie will be having a heck of a good laugh at how embarrassed you are. Thank you. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Everyone, I think we owe a round of applause to David Shuchuk? Yes. Shuchuk, yes. Our very talented violinist. Now, you are really a friend, but really you're a family. You're an honorary family member. He's been best friends of Jeremy since grade 1, and Brenda and Kevin's son from another mother. So we thank you very much for being here and being part of this very special service. It's certainly, anytime we have live music, it really adds to the love and the warmth. Welcome, family and friends of Willie. My name is Reverend Kate, and I'm honored to be your Dignity Memorial celebrant today as we celebrate the life of one who lived it very well and made an impact on so many lives. Our service will be complete here in the chapel, but the celebration of Willie's life will continue in a reception in her honor in our Heritage Lounge on the lower level. And if anyone needs the use of the elevator, please see a member of the staff. They'll be very happy to help you. We also have a very special treat downstairs with a video that's been produced by Wayne and Anna that has a lot of very special and beautiful memories that I insist everybody take a look at. You'll just love it. Now I invite you to join me in an opening prayer. Lord, our Creator, be with us now in our time of loss and our time of sorrow. There is a hole in our hearts that's been made by having to let go of one so dearly loved. We know that Willie is at peace now. She's no longer burdened with the failings of our earthly bodies and is living a new life free of all pain. Yet it is the pain of grief that we each must carry that need the support now. Help us to turn our tears to the song of laughter as we remember the great times that we shared. Help us also to remember that this is not the end. This is simply a break in time, and that we will all be reunited again one day on the other side of this life. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, Willie Fairbrother, she had a very full, wonderful life, but no one can tell those stories better than some of those who knew her best. And at this time, I would like to invite her daughter, Brenda, to come up and start. Deep breath. Deep breath. You got it.
I was looking for Kleenex.
It's right there.
Well, good afternoon. On behalf of my entire family, I'd like to thank you all for being with us today to share in our celebration of life for our wonderful mother. I don't know if I can tell you all the important things about Mom, but I do hope that I can convey some of the important feelings. If I say anything profound, it's likely not original, because death and grief are a part of the human condition. We all have or will experience it, and many have written about it. I'm not sure if anyone could do justice to an incredible 94-year life, but I will try. Born on August 23rd, 1930, at home on my grandparents' farm outside of Bobcaygeon, Mom was never called Gladys, Wilma by some, and Willie by many. Nowadays, having a parent or grandparent live with you is somewhat of a rarity. But back in the day, it was common to have your grandparent live with you, or to share a home with your parents or in-laws until you could afford a home of your own. Perhaps everything old is new again. It wasn't strange for Kevin and I to have Mom in our home. Mom's grandmother lived with her on the farm. Kevin grew up in his grandparents' home, and he was all the richer for having stories and memories that have stayed with him for his lifetime. And so we were blessed to have so many nights sitting around the dinner table, just talking about important and unimportant topics. And it was then that Mom shared so many stories with Kevin and I about her younger years on the farm. She and her siblings getting their tonsils out on the dining room table. The mischief that her younger brother Eric would get away with. Oh, yes, Uncle Eric, she shared those stories. And the wonderfully descriptive stories about her younger twin brothers, Louis and Lloyd, such a rarity in those days that when they finally came home from the hospital, my grandmother popped them up in bassinets by the window so that the neighbors could walk by outside to see them. She had vivid memories that she shared of her mom mixing chocolate powder into their milk in the summertime because the cow's milk tasted like grass, and the kids, they wouldn't drink it. Warm, unpasteurized milk that tastes like grass. Back in the 40s and the 50s, women basically had 3 career choices: to become a teacher, a secretary, or a nurse. My Aunt Jean became a teacher, Aunt Marjorie a secretary, and Mom a nurse. In 1951, she graduated from nursing at the Oshawa General Hospital, now Lakeridge Health. And she showed us the building that still exists that was her residence. In the video loop, there are a few pictures that were taken there, pictures that remind us all of the hijinks that happen in residence life. When we joked to her about, no Facebook or Instagram back then, Mom quipped, "Thank goodness." And then she said, not that there were any photos that were inappropriate, nothing ever happened. And then she gave me that look. During her nursing training, Mom met Dad, Tom, at a YMCA dance. Mom told us that Dad had planned on becoming a Mountie, but after that dance, he turned to his friend and said, "Nope, I'm staying." And they were married on December 26th, 1952. They shared 54 wonderful years together. In her lifetime, Mom worked as a nurse at Oshawa General. She worked at Bloorview Children's Center, and then she finished her career as an OR nurse at Shoaldice Hospital, the hernia hospital in Thornhill. In between all of that, there was the other stuff, like having 4 kids and moving 3 times for Dad's jobs. During those years, Mom was the glue that held us together when Dad was on the road for business for weeks at a time. She stood by his side when he was in the shrine, and when he became potentate, she did all the things that the potentate's lady was supposed to do. They traveled all over the world together, and even though her short-term memory began to fade in the last few years, she could always recall where and when they traveled, and in which photo album the pictures were in our den. But when Dad passed away in 2006, after 54 years of being together, Mom had to go through the process of grieving, and at the age of 76, she began to reinvent herself. Or maybe she just started to become the next iteration of herself. She became more involved with her bowling league, her church, her euchre group. She summoned up the courage to start to travel again, at first with family and then with friends. She proudly announced that she bought a new car, the first one she had ever purchased on her own. She took care of all her own finances and understood all the details of her investments, the knowledge of which she continually and patiently tried to teach me when it came my time to assist her. It was Mom who decided when it was time to move out of her condo on Wilson Road and into Harmony Hill Retirement Community. She decided when it was time for her to stop driving. Not easy decisions for anyone. But that was one of her superpowers, to quietly listen to her own inner voice and make choices that she knew were right for her. Here's something that not a lot of people know. When Mom lived at Harmony Hill, they had social nights with live music and a bar. Some of the seniors began to grumble that the bar service was too slow and there weren't enough bartenders. So Mom asked Lynn and I to join her in taking the Smart Serve course. And we did, and she did. And how awesome is it that our 88-year-old mother was legally able to serve alcohol? She had her Smart Serve card tucked in her wallet, behind her OHIP card. Mom was incredibly generous, and she was involved in so many charitable activities. She was an active member of St. Paul's Presbyterian Church, as a Calvin group member, making her cheese bread and her fudge, and a willing participant in the annual fashion show fundraiser, where she walked the runway in ladies' fashions with confidence, a smile, and a little bit of sass. She rode a giant team tricycle in the Big Bike for Heart and Stroke, and she participated in many of the all-night Relay for Life walks for cancer as one of the legendary Soul Sisters, taking breaks in a tent at 3 a.m. in the morning, and she did these things in her 80s. Mom supported Big Brothers Big Sisters of Clarington, the Special Olympics in London, Ontario, Movember, both the Oshawa and Bowmanville Hospital Foundations, and other charities and causes that touched her. But that was Mom. She drew people to her. My closest friends loved her, sending her cards for no reason, bringing her flowers and hummingbird ornaments for her collection, and wanting to make sure that she would be home when they came to visit me. Her nieces and nephews reached out to her, and we had annual dates, cousins who lunch. Those same cousins who have given me immeasurable support in the last month. We had happy hour visits and dinners with friends who were also blessed to have their mothers live with them. Our friends became her friends, and hers became ours. Mom delighted in going to the National Geographic lecture series and dinners afterwards with her friend Holly, our friend Holly. Mom never stopped learning. She was proficient with her iPad, playing Scrabble and solitaire, learning to email, text, and FaceTime so that she could stay in touch with her children and grandchildren. She so loved and was so proud of her grandkids and her great-grandkids. She loved nothing more than visits, dates with Grandma, and FaceTimes. One day, she was going to text birthday wishes to Aunt Nancy, and when I wondered if Nancy texted, Mom looked at me and she said, "Well, she has a cell phone, doesn't she?" As if that was it, if you had a cell phone, you must be able to text. Mom was brave, and truly, she never complained. She often said, "I'm not going to be a grumpy Gus," and she never was. She soldiered through a macular hole in her eye where she was forced to be face down for a week. She gamely rehabbed through 2 hip replacements and decided then that she needed a personal trainer to keep her in shape. And Mandy worked out with her for many years. To that end, she started wearing a Fitbit so she could track her steps and ultimately her miles. And there is a picture on the video of when she came to live with us. She decided that she better set a goal. And I said, "Okay, what goal?" And she said, "Well, I'd like to walk 100 miles. And she did. In the first full year with us, including her steps up and down the stairs and around the block and around the neighborhood, she walked 100 miles. In 2019, Mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Not a lot of people knew that. She quietly had her surgery and afterwards declined to have radiation, and we respected that. And so I said, "Well, Mom, what do you want to do?" She said, "Well, I'd like to go on a trip." And so we did. In the video loop, there is an iconic picture of Mom sitting on a Harley Davidson. And yep, it was on that vacation. Hindsight being what it was, we were so glad that we took that trip, because 2020 was the year that changed everyone's lives. COVID was getting ugly. Family members were unable to see or hug their loved ones. Mom lived at Harmony Hill Retirement Community then, and like everywhere else, they were locking things down. No family visits, no leaving the building, meals being sent to their apartments in little styrofoam containers. So in March of 2020, Kevin and I convinced Mom to move in with us temporarily, just till COVID was over. We basically had 1 hour that Harmony Hill gave us to go in and get Mom's stuff. So we told her in advance, go grab your suitcases from the storage area, pack everything you think you might need, and spring clothes, summer clothes, because we didn't know. And at 89, in the midst of a global pandemic, Mom had the presence of mind to pack all her files to file her income tax return. By June, when we realized that COVID wasn't going to be over, Kevin and I knew that we wanted Mom's life with us on Peachtree Crescent to be permanent. At first, she refused. She said she swore that she would never be a burden to her kids. We finally convinced her, and as Lynn quipped, she said yes to the address. And so began more than 4.5 years living with our beautiful mother. And she never was a burden. Despite all the scary changes in the world, Mom remained, for the most part, spunky and upbeat. The first week we had meals together, I suggested that at the end of every dinner, we go around the table and share something that we had been grateful for that day. And thus began our nightly attitude gratitude. Kevin's gratitude usually involved food, but Mom was always able to find something, no matter how inconsequential, to be grateful for. Now, I'm not saying that it was always easy for the three of us to live together, but I can truly say that there was never a harsh word between us, and if there were any issues, they were usually resolved over a glass of wine and some of her chocolate. Besides, how could you have issues with a 90-year-old woman who binge-watched Ted Lasso with us? She said, well, once you get past the continual dropping of the F word, it's quite a good series. She so quickly welcomed a giant T-Rex into our lives and was game to be part of our video adventures of Willie and Rex and her iconic tagline, "Oh, Rex." And for those of you who are fans of The Princess Bride, I will share with you that we had a Princess Bride movie night with Brian and Glenda and John. We decided to dress up as characters from the movie, and I thought Mom would be quite comfortable as Princess Buttercup with the hair and the dress. And she said no. She insisted on being the swashbuckling dread pirate Roberts, complete with the sword and the black mustache. That was Willie, full of life and laughter. I could relate more stories and more tales of Willie the Warrior, but I will close with what I know to be true. The author, Heidi Priebe, wrote, "To love someone long-term is to attend 1,000 funerals of the people they used to be, the people they're too exhausted to be any longer. We so badly want the people we love to get their spark back when it burns out, to become speedily found when they are lost. But it is not our job to hold anyone accountable to be the people they used to be. It is our job to travel with them between each version and to honor what emerges along the way." And so we traveled with Mom as she began her gentle descent. In the last year of her life, I would tuck Mom into bed every night, and I would always say the following: And I will say it for the last time now. I love you, Mum. Sleep well. Dream of angels and hummingbirds.
Brenda, that was absolutely beautiful. Now, in a moment, I'm going to have another couple of people come up to speak, and they're going to speak of a beautiful psalm. Because when it comes time to leave this earth, it can be a very scary prospect. We're told there is another life waiting for us, a better life, one without all the hardship that we face, but we fight it. We go to the doctor, we take our medication, we do what we're meant to do. And we do that because God has given us an ingrained sense of survival, to be here as long as we are meant to be here, to learn and experience the things we are meant to learn and experience. And not until the mind, body, and soul are ready to make that journey do we. And when we do, we are told that we are loved, we are protected, we are healed, we are forgiven, that our enemies are now our allies, and there is nothing but a great peace that waits for us. And at this time, I would like to invite up son Brian and daughter-in-law Glenda with Psalm 23 and another beautiful poem.
The Lord is my shepherd, therefore can I lack nothing. He shall feed me in a green pasture and lead me forth beside the waters of comfort. He shall restore my soul and bring me forth in the paths of righteousness, for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou shalt prepare a table before me in the presence of them that trouble me. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, and my cup shall be full. Surely thy loving kindness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Back in the 70s, when we lived in Thornhill, we had a very large property with many gardens, vegetable gardens, several flower gardens, and one of the gardens had a large lilac bush in it. And for a couple of years, Mom indulged me and let me attempt to plant and tend flowers there. Now, as my mother-in-law, Doreen, was once known to say, he's not much of a farm boy. So how successful I was at that venture is not the point of this story, but what is the scent of the lilacs that have stayed with me all of these years and will always remind me of Mom. So when I was looking for something appropriate to read today, something that captured both my memory of the lilacs and Mom's faith, I was quite thrilled when I found this poem. It was called Roses, so I co-opted it and made it Lilacs. If lilacs grow in heaven, Lord, please pick a bunch for me and place them in my mother's arms and tell her they're from me. Tell her I love her and I miss her. And when she turns to smile, place a kiss upon her cheek and hold her for a while. Because remembering her is easy. I do it every day. But there's an ache within my heart that will never go away.
Thank you very much. Absolutely beautiful. Now, as you can see, there are 4 candles on either side of our display here. And in a moment, 4 of them are going to be lit. Now, candles are a very important part of our life's experience. We light them for special occasions and we light them for remembrance. And though this is a sad occasion, it is still very special because of the woman whom we're honoring here today. And just like the flame of a candle, Willie was the brightest, the warmest, and the most inviting light you could not ignore in any room that she was in. And as 4 of them are being lit, we're going to listen to a beautiful song, Keep Me in Your Heart for a While, by Warren Zevon. Now, Willie's family had extended to many different branches and generations, and at this time I would like to invite her niece, Marilyn, to come forward. Oh boy, you got pressure on you now.
Good afternoon. It's my honor to be here to offer this reflection on behalf of Aunt Willie, on behalf of her 14 Taylor family nieces and nephews, and the one remaining Mitchell cousin. I believe almost all of us are here today that could be, which is a true reflection of our love for her. I need to start with a little family history. As you've heard, Aunt Willie was the 3rd daughter of Grandpa and Grandma, Clayton Taylor and Gladys Mitchell. It was very important to both of them that they stay connected with their extended families. So Aunt Willie and her 4 siblings inherited that commitment of nurturing strong family bonds. Growing up, going to family reunions was a tradition that included all generations. And I'm sure we all remember those Lewis and Taylor reunions. Some many years ago, perhaps decades ago now, Aunt Willie and her 2 sisters, Jean and Marjorie, would get together with their Aunt Marjorie, Wanamaker Nee Mitchell, for lunch and a catch-up on family happenings. Soon those get-togethers started to include their daughters and occasionally a granddaughter. These were wonderful times that those involved remember fondly. They always included much laughter, sharing of memories, and lots of hugs. Of course, there was food involved, and sometimes a glass of wine or other bubbly, but that wasn't the point of our gatherings. It was about staying connected and sharing our love for each other. We always admired Aunt Willie's sense of humor, her happy nature, and that twinkle in her eye. Topics of conversation might include the weather or how the Blue Jays were or weren't doing. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but the last time we were together, we still remember that saying of Aunt Willie's, "Head a dinger, Springer." Anyway, so they were family members, but it always came back to the present family members and how everyone was doing. Love surrounded our gatherings. We will always treasure those memories, and we extend our heartfelt sympathies to Wayne, Brenda, Lynn, Brian, and their families. Aunt Willie will be missed and always remembered in our hearts. As part of our healing going forward, and as a thank you to Aunt Willie and the past generations, we will need to continue the traditions and keep those strong family ties alive. Thanks for the wonderful memories, Aunt Willie. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Marilyn, and beautiful words, yes. You know, we have to remember that this is a different time than we've had where we can move away so easily where we weren't, but we also have the technology we didn't have way back in the day. But family reunions are very important. You know, even to go and just make fun of other people. And if you say, there aren't any weird people in my family, you're it. Anyway. Family reunions can be fun. Next, I would like to invite up Willie's daughter, Lynn.
Since October 8th, I've described how I've been feeling as grief, relief, and belief. As the days have passed, I now think of it differently. It's actually the reverse. I have belief that Mom is home with Dad and so many other family members and friends surrounding her with love. I feel relief because Mom is free, no longer trapped in a body that was failing her. And grief that I will live with in different ways. And yet, as Bruce, Emma, and I said when we were experiencing our first Thanksgiving weekend without Mom, she gave us so many reasons to smile and laugh. Seems to be a theme on that today. Mom had a great sense of humor and was often ready with a zinger when you least expected it, including my candle that wouldn't light. There were so many times over the years when she was not having it with any of our silly ideas, and she would respond with, "I don't think so." We eventually told her that should be her hashtag. Only once did we have to explain to her what that meant, and for the rest of her years, the "I don't think so" simply became hashtag. And some of you may know that Mom was not a swimmer, but she spent her vacations and summers being very content to be by or on the water, just not in it. However, that almost changed when Brenda, Mom, and I were on a trip in Mexico. We were out for a walk one evening and saw an invitation to a champagne party by the pool for only $85 US a person. I said, for that price, they should fill the pool with champagne. And Mom, not missing a beat, replied, "Well, if the pool was filled with champagne, then I would definitely go in. And I'd put my face in the water." Classic Mom. We always loved Mom's youthful outlook. Bruce, Emma, and I were blessed to share so many Christmases together, and we loved the tradition of watching the Christmas movies. Mom's favorite requests were usually "It's a Wonderful Life" or "White Christmas," until the year we introduced her to Elf. Every year after that, when we asked her which movie she wanted to watch, she would always request Elf. She loved the silliness and the magical message of it. As we have said, there are so many stories that I could recount of shenanigans and blessed memories, because she wasn't just Mom. She was my friend and endless cheerleader, and I couldn't have wished for anything more.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Now we are going to light our remaining 4 candles, and I ask the grandchildren to come forward to a very special song that Lynn has chosen by Ed Sheeran, "Supermarket Flowers." Okay, let's do the oldest of each family. Okay, perfect.
Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down, but Mom hesitated every time. Oh, I repeat this, it's tearing me up, but I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved, so I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. When I fell down, you were there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. God takes you back. Say hallelujah, you're home. Fluff the pillows, make the bed, stack the chairs up. Folded your nightgowns neatly in a cake. John said he'd drive and put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. Now that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know that life with love is a life that's been lived, so I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. When I fell down, you be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go, and then God takes you back and say hallelujah. I have become. Spread your wings and I know that when God took you back, he said, hallelujah, you're home.
Now, as Willie's life grew, so did her family. And she was blessed with 2 more daughters and 2 more sons. You could say in-laws, but they really were just family and sons. And at this time, I would like to invite up Kevin Calhoun, one of her son-in-laws, but a true son in every sense of the word.
Comedians have always had inspiration from mothers-in-law for their comedy. But that perceived angst didn't exist between Willie and I. We did have a lot of laughs together and wonderful times, but never at the cost of what we meant to one another. There was never an angry word between us in the 4.5 years under the same roof. That didn't mean I wouldn't try and have fun with her. We never made jokes at each other's expense. I never needed the line, "Take my mother-in-law, please." Never needed it. Reading, they say, makes a knowledgeable man. Writing makes a careful man. And traveling makes a complete man. And Willie loved to see the world and experience the different cultures firsthand. Every trip had something that caught her interest and became a treasured memory. I had the good fortune to travel with her on several occasions, from her floating out on a pool chair after hip surgery in the Caribbean Sea, to admiring the roses in Regent's Park in London, England, catching sight of whales in Alaska and dolphins in Florida. She embraced life with her whole heart. She spent close to 200 days on cruise ships, and she loved the formal nights. It was a little moment to show off the goods, as it were, all in fun. And on one formal night when we were all dressed to the nines, Brenda, Willie, and I were milling about in the gift shop after dinner. I was in my tuxedo, and back in the day, when the thing fit me, I thought I cut a rather dashing figure. So Brenda had wandered off, and Willie and I were back to back on either side of an aisle, separated. And 2 ladies of a certain vintage came up to me and looked at me and said, "You look terrific in your tux." One of them said in a rather suggestive voice, asked if I was with anyone for the rest of the night. Willie spun around quickly, sidled up to me, grabbed my arm and said, "Yes, he's with me." The look of envy on their faces was palpable.
It was pity, Kevin.
At the start of today's celebrations, Brenda said that I grew up in a multi-generational household. So when we discussed Willie moving in with us, it really didn't take too long for me to agree enthusiastically to having her join us. Having her lived with us added to our lives. It didn't take away from them. No matter the tough times endured by all, near the end, it was a privilege to be part of her life. She brought so much joy to so many, some after only every few years, some after only every few weeks. But for us, it was every single day. We were the lucky ones. She brought joy to us every day, and that's why we will both miss her profoundly. A marvelous life. Marvelous life. More than worthy of today's celebrations. Thank you.
Kevin, I'm worried about this chronic shyness of yours. We're going to have to work on that. Thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. Now, when we lose someone, it hurts. It hurts because there's love involved. You just can't have one without the other. What you can do is you can cut yourselves off from one another, never make any true or real relationships with people, and that way you're never going to feel what you're feeling here today. But that is no way to live. And Willie understood that. She let the people in her life know just how very important they were to her. She lived it. She showed it. And this is a wonderful celebration. You know, your hearts are still broken. And there's really nothing that I can say to take that pain away. This is a sadness. But there's a sadness that is not in this room. And that is when somebody comes into the care of the funeral home staff and there's not one person out there to miss them. There's not one person out there to share a story, to share any history, or even just be there. And unfortunately, this happens more often than I care to admit. And when that does happen, well, the staff, they treat that person with as much care as they do our own loved ones. I've seen it. And they'll give somebody like myself a call and ask if we can stop in and just say a few words. And if for some reason we can't make it, the staff take that honor on themselves. And they may say something like, I don't know your life history, but I'm sure at some point you made somebody laugh. I'm sure at some point you put somebody's needs ahead of your own. I'm sure at some point you made someone feel just great to be in your presence. And though I don't know what those times are, I'm going to honor them. Well, that's not Willie's story, because you know what she did that made you laugh. The times that she put your needs ahead of her own, and when you just felt great to be with her. And that is a wonderful, wonderful legacy to leave. And to many people, a funeral is a place to say goodbye. But to me, really, it is a place to say thank you. So thank you, Willie, for making your family your very best friends, and your best friends your family. Thank you for showing the same love and respect to Rex the dinosaur. And I really have to see some of these videos. Thank you for always cheering on the Blue Jays. And thank you for those of you that are wearing the jerseys. Very nice. You know, maybe she can do something for us for next year now. Thank you for never giving up on whatever life threw at you. Where some people may have felt pity, may have felt just like giving up, you never did. You fought through the toughest times. Thank you for loving Ted Lasso. And I gotta ask, who was your favorite character? Yes. For any of you that have seen it, I renamed my camper Roy Kent, because he's here, he's there, and you can fill in the rest. You can ask those that don't know. Thank you for your brilliant zingers and one-liners that always had your family and friends on the edge of their seat and not knowing where it was going to come from. Thank you, Willie, for just being you. I invite you now to join me in the saying of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I want to thank you all so much for being here, not only for Willie, but for one another. And after today, I challenge you to make sure that you continue to reach out to one another. We just finished a holiday, we're right around the corner from another one. And we get busy with our lives. Before we know it, we have a plate full of things we have to do in a day, and we tend to forget that there is an empty chair at a table. Please make sure you reach out to one another and that you're doing all right, because that's exactly what Willie would be doing for you. David, could I invite you to come back up here, please, and play for us again? I invite you all to join in a celebration of Willie's life downstairs in the Heritage Lounge. And if anyone needs the elevator, please see a member of the staff. They'll be very happy to help you. And please, again, make sure that you take a look at the beautiful video display that has been done. Thank you.